Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Oh, yeah, I forgot we gotta finish week 1 of SeptemPeaks. Sorry, I was just preparing for the October Landflix Horror Fest. I made a little bit of a change. This year we're going to be doing Camp Kill, so it's going to be a camp-themed thing. And yeah, I think the camp counselors at Camp Kill have a few movies they want us to watch and talk about, so we're going to do that. Anyway, after that brief announcement, how's everybody doing? We're finishing up week 1 of SeptemPeaks 2021. This episode we're going to be doing episodes 6 and 7 of season 1, just so everybody's up to speed. We're just going to jump right into it. Audrey and Cooper talk needs versus wants. And Audrey, at this point, in the cliffhanger of the last episode, she showed up in Coop's hotel room. I think she's naked in his bed. And he has this moment of like, what? Like, what is happening? Like, how do I handle this situation kind of thing? It's crazy. It's an insane situation for a character like him to be in, but I think he handles it the right way. He's like, this is wrong. Like, we both know this is wrong. What you need right now more than anything is a friend, you know, and it's just really nice to see a character not take advantage of someone that's innocent, you know. A lot of crime shows you get characters that are corrupted or want to corrupt others, so it's just nice to see a, you know, square, honest guy. But he lets Audrey know that he does like her very much and he would love to be with her, but in his line of work and with his past, which you find out about later, he just doesn't feel like it's right. And he also, I think, is saying, you know, hey, you're still in high school, so like you gotta chill. The scene just kind of shows Audrey's vulnerability and then Coop's ability to just have respect and take personal responsibility for one's own actions. So. And then, yeah, by the end of the season, Lucy is still calling Andy Officer Brennan because she's pretty mad at him. But she gets a suspicious call in this episode, and we're pretty sure we know what it is. It's the doctor calling. She's been kind of moody, so it's like, okay. Doc Hayward is reading through facts about the minor bird, the bird Waldo that they found in the cabin where Laura was killed. Leo finally sees Bobby at he and Shelly's house, and then Shelly finally breaks down and tells Bobby she shot Leo. And yeah, Madchen Amick, I think is how you say her name. She's absolutely phenomenal. I don't know why. I think she's done more TV stuff, but it's just like Ray Wise. I don't know why she hasn't gone on to do bigger roles, more like, well, I don't want to say like well known, but just, yeah, like bigger roles, movies that more people have seen. It's just extraordinary to me that these actors and actresses just kind of fizzled out after Twin Peaks. So Donna, Maddie, and James decide to fake a call from Laura using Maddie, because Maddie sounds a lot like Laura too, to Dr. Jacoby. And then because they do this because they have to get a missing tape from Laura's shoebox of tapes that she made. Audrey does some recon at Horn's department store, trying to figure out what connection that had with Laura's death, or if it even has a connection. And then, yeah, she finds out a co-worker has gone and is going again to a place called One-Eyed Jack's. More of Hank in the Double R Diner, and Harry Truman and Cooper enter, and Truman tells Hank, you miss a meeting, you're going to jail. Like, you know, you need to check in with your PO and keeping an eye on you. And he asks Cooper an interesting thing here. He says, "Do you believe people ever change?" And then he like says, like he states, "I don't." And that, I don't know. To me, that's an interesting philosophy, and I don't think I agree with it, but it's a very black and white way to look at things, I guess. And yeah, Audrey plays it cool and acts like she lost her number to Black Rose, so she gets it from her friend that works at Horn's department store. Yeah, and then Ed and Nadine are at home, and Nadine talks about giving up on her dream of making the Silent Runner. Truman is at Pete and Catherine's, and Pete and Truman talk taxidermy, and then Truman asks Josie about being at the Timber Falls Motel. She tells him the truth, that she was there doing recon on Ben Horn and Catherine Martell, and finding out more about like their scheme against her, which is interesting because Josie pretty much plays Truman and Pete like fiddles, man. It's kind of crazy, but we'll get more into that when it comes around. And then Coop and Truman and Big Ed meet for the Bookhouse Boys field work they're going to be doing, the mission to One-Eyed Jacks. Truman tells Cooper about Josie's distress. Coop questions and Truman says he loves her, so then Coop says it's good enough for me, and he decides to help him. So then Catherine is confronted by her lawyer to sign some legal documents, some like last minute stuff he says. And then she realizes kind of halfway through their conversation that Josie and Ben Horn are actually trying to get the drop on her. So, yeah. And then a gunshot is heard at the sheriff's station. The guys find that someone shot Waldo. Waldo being the minor bird. And the voice recorder plays a few things that Waldo said while he was in the cage, including "Don't go there," Laura, "Hurting me," and "Leo, no." So there's just, some kind of abstract things that were said the night Laura died, supposedly. Maddie leaves the Palmer residence to meet James and Donna. Leland actually is sitting up in the middle of the night and he sees Maddie leave the house. And the three meet and they shoot a video of Maddie dressed as Laura to give to Jacoby. Ben Horn and Jerry, his brother, are with the Norwegians of the Great Northern. Ben asks Jerry about the Ghostwood contracts, and then he calls Josie to tell her they need Catherine at the mill, and you find out Hank is with Josie, like after he calls Josie. And then Audrey passes herself off as Hester Prynne to get into One-Eyed Jacks, and Black Rose sees right through this, and there's some pretty cool character stuff between Black Rose and Audrey here, and you figure out some things about just how their relationship is going to be, so it's kind of cool. Cooper and Big Ed, are at the casino, and Jacques Renault shows up as Cooper's dealer at his table. I think he's playing blackjack. And then Maddie makes the call to Dr. Jacoby as Laura. And then Bobby is hiding in the bushes, and he actually follows Donna and James to Dr. Jacoby's office. And then he plants cocaine in James' gas tank on his motorcycle. This episode just really ratchets up the tension and brings to a head the conclusion. So it's kind of just like, you ready for the end? Okay, here it is. And then, and then this final shot we get right before the episode is over with, we see someone is watching Maddie as Laura at the gazebo. But they're it's like a voyeur shot. We're like in the bushes. But it feels like someone kind of sitting there, and the way it's shaking around and stuff. It's very reminiscent of found footage and things like that. So it's just kind of cool that it has this certain look to it that makes you feel like who's in the bushes watching them, who is this person? And we're back, guys. We're finishing up week 1 of SeptemPeaks with episode 7. So we open in Dr. Jacoby's office. James and Donna show up and they find a box of umbrellas, which I believe are just memories throughout Jacoby's life that he's associated with it makes sense because he's a psychologist. It is a weird thing, but if you think about it for a minute, it makes sense because he's a psychologist, psychiatrist, and he associates all these memories throughout his life with an umbrella, just so he remembers better, because he's getting older. So, and I thought it was a nice touch that in his apartment, there's like constant beach sounds playing because he loves Hawaii and that whole scene. Donna ends up screwing up the music and it gets really loud, and James has to fix it. And then this is when she finds the coconut, and then inside the coconut they find the other half of Laura's charm necklace. And then Bobby, skulking in the dark as Donna and James leave, acts like he shoots them, with his finger. Jacoby's at the gazebo where Maddie's dressed as Laura, and then Jacoby gets attacked, but by who? And then for a while, I don't know why, I thought he died here, so I thought it didn't make sense that he came back in the return. But we're still, this is the end of season 1, and I'm pretty sure he's in season 2 in bits, so I just, my memory, there's so many things to remember about this show that it's hard to remember little character stuff like that. So then we're back at One-Eyed Jack's, and Cooper and Big Ed are still undercover, and Jacques and Coop are playing blackjack. Coop shows the broken chip and says he's a friend of Leo's, and I don't think Jacques understands what the chip is at first. Audrey goes to Black Rose's office, and she sees Cooper on one of the security cameras while she's in the office, and she kind of makes this face, and Black Rose is like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "Oh, nothing." So you can tell that she is very nervous about what's going on, but now that Cooper's there, it's kind of like she has a weird emotion going on. Yeah, Black Rose tells her to pick a card out of a deck of cards she lays out on the table, and Audrey picks the Queen of Diamonds. And this is where Cooper sets up a fake drug deal with Jacques and asks about the poker chip, and then Jacques obliges, and you can see the horror behind Coop's eyes as he's watching Jacques, and they do this close-up of Jacques' mouth while he's describing the awful things that were going on. You can just see that Coop is trying to hold it together, but he's having a hard time because this guy's a monster. So Shelly's back at her and Leo's house, and she's shampooing her hair in the kitchen sink, and then she reaches for a towel. And Leo, which I thought it was a weird situation, why are you washing your hair in the sink? I mean, unless maybe because Leo was renovating their house, so maybe he had the bathroom screwed up, she can't take showers, I don't know. Anyway, she doesn't want to open her eyes because she's got shampoo in her hair, so she's got her eyes closed, she's reaching over on the counter. She's got a gun right next to her just in case, and the towel over here, and she's reaching for the towel, and someone's pulling the towel away, and then you see it's Leo. And this is where he kidnaps Shelly. Sheriff Truman and Andy are discussing Lucy, and it's funny, Andy says, as law enforcement phrases go, it's a cold trail. So I just thought that was kind of a funny, weird line. And then Truman and Andy bust Jacques, and Andy saves Truman's life. And then, so that's kind of the payoff to earlier in the season when we saw that Andy has a hard time with his marksmanship. So he's been practicing, he's been taking Coop's advice. And then Maddie, James, and Donna listen to the tape, and Laura talks about a mystery man and a red Corvette, which, we obviously, right off the bat, we're like, oh, Leo, okay. For sure Leo now. The mystery man we're still wondering about. We're still trying to figure out who this guy is, because she talks about him. She talks about him lighting her fire. So it's does that have some connection with the Fire Walk with Me? I don't know. Obviously I know now, but I'm just trying to... People that are watching the series the first time through, these are kind of your thoughts. Leo is then... he took Shelly to the Packard mill that Ben Horn and them are having him burn down. And he's tying her up there, so he's just going to kill her. And he tells her that she broke his heart, which to me just shows a weak sense of one's own psychology, because he's taking all this grief that he's experienced from life and kind of just attributing it to this marriage with this woman. And it's you made some pretty bad decisions, man. It was interesting that they gave that quirk of not knowing your psychology and kind of being dumb about your emotions to Leo, because he would be that way. It just makes sense. Nadine is planning on suicide by pills. We'll just get a quick little maybe minute montage of her pouring pills into a bowl and then pouring a glass of water and all that. So then Hank and Josie are at the sawmill house, and there's a moment where Josie she's smoking a cigarette, and there's a moment where she blows smoke into Hank's face, and instead of like moving his head or blowing it, he like sucks it in. And I've always just thought that was a weird, creepy, but like great moment from his character, because it shows you how creepy he is. And I think he's trying to intimidate Josie, but it's hard to intimidate her because she acts scared like so much, but then she's not really scared. So she's got the most layers, I think, of any character that we're dealing with right now, because Laura had a lot of layers too, but Josie is like insane how many different things she has going on. So then Hank discusses the philosophy of money versus time, and then he makes Josie his blood sister. Like, they cut their fingers and put their fingers together, and Josie's like not about it at all. She's very like, what is happening? And then Catherine and Pete talk about the past, and in my opinion, Catherine is, I mean, obviously like she's in a desperate place, but she doesn't mean anything she's saying to Pete, in like, to me, in my opinion. I don't think she is truly like trying to feel emotions for him again. I don't think she wants them to have a better relationship. I think she's manipulating him because she knows she's screwed. She bears all her emotions to Pete, and maybe showing a moment of humanity, but like I said, to me, I think she's just manipulating him. So yeah, then Hawk is at the station with the other sheriff's deputies, telling all of them about Andy's heroism and how he saved Sheriff Truman's life. Andy approaches Lucy and kisses her, and then this is where Lucy tells Andy she's pregnant. So then, because of Andy's reaction, he kind of just like walks out of the little break room thing they're in and doesn't say anything. So everyone's like, oh man. Everyone's disappointed. So then Coop and Truman ask Jacques about the night that, you know, he was with Laura and Leo and all that. And he gives them what little information he has, I guess. Yeah, so then Catherine and Pete are looking for the ledger, I believe, in their library at the sawmill. And then Catherine gets a call from Hank. He says, what you're looking for is at the mill. So I guess, yeah, they're at their house, and then they get a phone call, and then they go to the mill. Hank tries to give the impression he is trying to be better to Norma, just so she'll treat him right and their relationship can get back to some kind of normalcy. And I think Norma wants to buy it, but she doesn't, because she knows that Hank specifically just won't change. He can't change. And then Big Ed finds Nadine after having taken the pills and calls 911. So yeah, in this scene, you can really tell that Ed does love Nadine, but he has problems with the past and how he and Nadine's relationship started. And yeah, it's a really rough situation. Yeah, Lucy tells Cooper and Truman about Bobby's fake phone call, which he did as Leo Johnson. Called from a payphone, and Leland shows up and asks Cooper and Truman about finding the killer, and they're kind of like, oh, we can't tell you anything, I'm sorry. And Leland asks if Hayward is going back to the hospital, and when he tells him he's not, Leland's like, hospital. So you're like, oh crap. He's going to kill Jacques. He's going to go take care of that guy. Then Coop and Truman confront James about his dangerous game he's been playing and the cocaine that Bobby planted in his gas tank, but no one knows who planted it, no one knows why it's there. Of course, they're questioning him because they're like, why do you have drugs? Ben Horn is with the Norwegians at One-Eyed Jack's, signing paperwork for Ghostwood. And Hank calls Ben Horn, kind of lets him know, hey, this is gonna happen. And then Bobby goes to the Johnson house, and this is where Leo attacks Bobby, and then Hank actually shoots Leo, which is crazy because it's like, how do you have the time to go over here and then go over here and kill this guy and then come out? Like, okay. We still don't know why Hank shoots Leo, because he took care of the situation and he did his end of the bargain. Maybe just because he was a loose end in the Horns. Because I think I remember them asking him about that in the second season. But anyway. Then, yeah, Leo's on the couch and he sees the Invitation to Love version of what just happened to him. So, like, the bully character in that show gets shot and he's kind of like, oh, I'm a monster. And it's like a Beauty and the Beast moment kind of thing. It's really cheesy. So then Catherine shows up at the mill and she sees Shelley tied up and Shelley's trying to tell her, hey, I need help. And then Catherine saves Shelley as the mill catches fire. And then Leland approaches Jacques and smothers him in his sleep at the hospital. And then, you know, Jacques wakes up and is freaking out and all that. And then Pete decides to go into the burning mill looking for Catherine. And Ben Horn goes into the room where Audrey is working at One-Eyed Jack's. After finishing paperwork with the Norwegians, he says to Black Rose as a celebration, let's check out the new girl. Having no idea that it's his daughter. So then Cooper goes back to the Great Northern, talks a little bit more to Diane on his voice recorder, and then finds another note from Audrey under his door, and then he gets a phone call, and then the door knocks, and he goes to the door and he gets shot, and then on the phone, Andy's telling Cooper, we found Leo Johnson, he's been shot. Hey, Agent Cooper, we found Leo Johnson. Hello. Because, you know, Cooper's on the floor, he was shot, so. It's an insane cliffhanger. It's a crazy way to end a first season of a show because, you know, this is like the main guy you've been following around and the guy who's like the leading investigator of the whole situation, so the fact that he's about to just keel off is pretty bad, and it puts the show in a weird spot, but ultimately it's a great wrap up for the first season. It's a really cool just like atmospheric closing, and yeah, so this is wrapping up week 1 of SeptemPeaks. It's a show I really enjoy watching. I love talking about it, so if you guys have any comments, any interpretations you think might be different than the ones I said, let me know. And that goes for every week of anything we talk about. Like, yeah, just give us your opinion of what you think the show's about. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming back every week and checking out my stuff. We'll be back next week with season 2, and then week 3 we're doing the movie and the first part of The Return, and the 4th week we'll be finishing up The Return, and that'll be it this year. So thanks again, guys. Have a great day.